Welcome back, everyone. I'm Monique from Sweets and Treats. We're located in Iowa City, Iowa, in the Old Capitol Mall. And today we have Joe Wortz and Deanne Wortman with us, and they combined to make WortArtz, and they're going to do a performing piece with their words and their art in the shop. And stop by throughout the weekend because we will leave the art up and you can experience it in person. So, guys, take it away.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Monique. We are going to talk about this piece right now, and this piece is a palimpsest, as it were, of many of my words that have been embedded in this paper. The whole thing is produced with dyes and inks, and then Joe takes a look at it and he gets inspired. And so what you are looking at is art that inspired words, and you're going to hear the words and see the art. And if you were here personally, you could walk around it and touch it and feel it too. But so we will read Joe's words while you look at this art and think of palimpsest.
And if you were here and closer, and if we maybe move the camera closer, you could see that there are 6 panels, individual panels of what looks like writing but can't be read. And it's Deanne's creation. And when I saw it in the blue colors, what triggered in my mind was that this was an ancient inscription on a cliff facing out into the ocean that was being discovered, and the people on their little boat were trying to figure out what the words meant. And so that's where this is coming from. What triggered in my mind when I saw her art.
You might mention your background too.
Oh,
This has some relationship.
well, tangentially, I'm an artist and or an archaeologist, and an inscription like this on a cliff was one of the kind of Rosetta Stones for deciphering cuneiform, the writing of the Sumerians and so forth in the Middle East. So I had that was another part of the inspiration behind this.
Because WortArtz brings word, image, and all sorts of other things together into one experience. So that's what we're attempting to do.
And we do so in the middle of a wonderful candy shop that you all have to come,
It's
no
so
matter where you are in the
sweet.
world. Yeah,
So this
and
is
buy
a
candy
sweet
from
performance.
Monique and her family who work here. Okay,
Okay.
great. Let's
go.
Okay. Am I first? Okay. This is called Cliff Face. Lines aloft, set high above an azure sea, rows of characters, blackened with age, chiseled onto a cliff face in 6 rectangular panels. Ancient inscriptions in a forgotten tongue for untold centuries, eroded by wind, corroded by salt spray, compositions decomposing, majestic in decay.
Lines aloft, furious breakers pound the sea cliff base. We moor our tiny boat offshore, clambering up onto the lonely rock. Through telescopes, peering one-eyed at the inscriptions, these are different from inscriptions that we, the explorers, have seen before.
Lines aloft, not a martial proclamation, not the pompous braggings of some long-dead king proclaiming his conquests and his pretense to godhead. They're carved in a softer script, rounded, slightly slanted, carved with care, with humility of hand.
Lines aloft, inscriptions, weather blackened as if written in ink, fading, blurring with age. And what by naked eye we took for panels, bounded by hard-ruled soldier straight incisions, we now recognize as pages, tatter-edged, marred by irregular lacunae, ragged voids that mimic the nibblings of worms.
Lines aloft, the realization comes first to our eyes, then blazes in our minds. These panels are no monument. They are pages from a literature, artisans' transcriptions of a poet or biographer or storyteller. We don't know. We stand gazing, silenced, humbled, hapless, illiterate.
Lines aloft, hand-inscribed pages published on rock, proclaiming a literacy meant to outlive its composer. An author's work, read from the vantage of a sea cliff podium, tales or poems, perhaps songs, voiced far and brave, sounded in silence to the vast, listening, azure sea.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening. Yep, we have one more. We want to do a second one, and then we will. And I have to explain also that what we have here, these images, I'll come a little closer so maybe you can see them a little better. The paper is hand-dyed. It's what I do with my collages, and so the paper becomes part of the performance. The paper has soaked up the colors, made shapes that have inspired us as human beings to tell a story, to see objects, to create a text to go with these images. And so Joe is going to read while I hold, and I think, there we go. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna read. This is called The Orchard. Our orchard has grown through the years, from a single tree to hundreds, spreading across high ridges and down grassy slopes. Last winter weighed heavy on the limbs. Spring iced the flowers. The trees are unlikely to bear fruit this season. Still, we must tend them. A few years back, the mulberries failed to produce. By midsummer, raccoons, thin, starving, ragged, were raiding granaries and barns, even breaking into houses. The cherry trees also failed. But the following year, both fruits bloomed, boughs dipping low with fruit. Never seen such abundance. People who hated those two fruits ate them anyway. There were just too many, prepared and served in too many ways to say no. And when a low branch blocks your path, heavy with plump, sweet, juicy fruit, it's impossible not to sample one, which leads to eating dozens. Our greatest fear, shared by all, is an overabundance of apples. The heavier the crop, the longer it takes to destroy them all, and the greater the chance someone will eat one. In that instant, the eternal harmony of the world we have built will be destroyed, for the apple to us remains forbidden. The Orchard.
And Joe was reading from apple trees. So when we were creating this piece, the form and shape of the text became part of the integrated visual text as well. And again, these are all dyed papers. The papers have absorbed the colors and have become quite physical.
And as someone who gave up on art when I was a kid, Deanne insisted that I not use scissors to cut these out. She said they have to be torn around the edges.
And the way we get those edges is by taking this absolutely absorbent paper and a brush with water and just paint the edge of the shape, and then the paper separates and it leaves this beautiful shape around the edges. So the paper did it. I didn't.
And I've been doing that a lot. It's so fun to be able to tear stuff. And the harder you pull them apart, the more jagged the edge is. So anyway, art, even if you're not an artist, you can be an artist. And even if you don't like candy, you can come down to Monique's and eat candy. So
Yes, and save the wrappings because you can use them again.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Thank you
Monique.
very
Yeah,
much,
really
Monique.
so
This is
much
wonderful.
for being here. This was fantastic, and we'll have some of the work left up this weekend for everyone who wants to stop by and see it. And there's of course Jazz Fest happening, so come check that out and get some treats and cool off in here. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Monique. Thanks you all.